King County Library System. Oops, let me click continue. So let me start over. Hi, everybody. My name is Joe. I work with the King County Library System with my colleague Teresa. We're both part of the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion team here. And so you are here for Create a Juneteenth Picnic with Chef Matt Lewis. I just want to mention before we begin that yesterday, President Biden signed the bill to make June 19 an official federal holiday. Juneteenth, National Independence Day. Juneteenth is the first federal holiday added since Martin Luther King Jr. Day in 1983. And Juneteenth commemorates the end of slavery for the last slaves in Texas nearly 2 years after Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation. Prior to becoming a federal holiday, many African Americans celebrate Juneteenth, also known as Emancipation Day and Freedom Day, which is celebrated with family gatherings and food and a lot more, and which is appropriate for our program today. So let me introduce you to Chef Matt Lewis. So growing up in New Orleans, he was always happy to help his mom and grandmother in the kitchen. Standing on a stool so that he could see over the counter, he learned a lot about the traditional Creole dishes such as gumbo, jambalaya, and etouffee. One of his favorite memories was going fishing with his grandfather and his dad and coming home to have a good old Southern fish fry. By the way, happy Father's Day to the dads out there. These simple delicacies have added flavor to his life and inspired him to share his passion by teaching others that cooking can be easy and fun and that anyone can do it. To learn more about Chef Matt, you can go to his website, whereyatmatt.com, and also to see a schedule where Matt is, find him on Facebook. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to you.
Awesome. How's everybody doing? As they said, I'm Chef Matt Lewis of Where You At Matt, the Seattle mobile restaurant, better known as a food truck. If you haven't been, you should go. This year, we're celebrating 11 years in business. So quite the milestone. It's something that you look back on, it's like, wow, 11 years already, but couldn't do it without you guys. I'm sure some of you guys have been supporters. If not, we look forward to you being future supporters. And also, happy Juneteenth. I'm looking forward to this because it's summertime and there's nothing like summer in Seattle. We always pay the price of the gray days through the winter to get to the days like we're having right now. And you may ask, like, picnics, Juneteenth, you know, what goes hand in hand? Well, the older I get, the more I eat more plant-based, fresh ingredients, less heavy things. I always call it now, meat is a treat. Like, I'm not going to say I don't eat meat, because if you see me out and there's crispy fried chicken or, you know, chicken wing on the menu, I'm all about it. But for the most part, I like to eat, you know, what's fresh, clean, and everything else. So without further ado, we'll kind of jump into this. If you have questions, feel free to use the chat. I think we have someone moderating that. And then at the end, I think we can actually do a question and answer time. But welcome to my kitchen here. Today, we're going to do a watermelon salad. It's actually one of my favorites. These cute little watermelons here as these come into season. And then after that, we're going to get into the fresh corn. Down south where I'm from in New Orleans, like, corn is kind of our asparagus up here, where when you start seeing that corn, you know it's summertime because it's hot down there. And all the Gulf Coast states will always say, my corn's the best, my corn's the best. Well, I always have a feeling that, you know, there's a lot of crossover, and it's just kind of that fun little rivalry that we all benefit from. So we'll do a fresh corn salad, we'll do a watermelon salad, and we will begin. If you can't find these cute little ones, get the big one, right? But sometimes when you have that half of a big one and you get home and you want to use it, or you want to take it on a picnic, here's a way to kind of dress it up. The easiest way to get into this, to utilize it for our purposes, is we just set it on a board. We're going to just take the tip off here on both sides until you get to the red, as you can see that. So that's good. I'm going to do that on the other side, like so. And now this watermelon will stand up. These two you can discard. There's some things you can do with it too. You can actually pickle the rind. That's a whole another class that we'll get into. But now that you see it stands on its own, you have the red center. What I'm going to do is take my knife and take the rest of the rind off here. So I will insert where the red and the white intersect here, and then kind of follow the curve of the watermelon. So I'll go in and straight down. And now that we have that, now you follow this all the way around, taking little 2 to 3 inch chunks or slices out. So you follow that, and then you just follow the white on the inside down, and you go all the way around with that. Sharp knife is always nice with whatever you're doing. It makes it so much easier. People are scared of it, but actually, if you don't have to apply as much pressure to it, it keeps it a lot safer. All right, so this rind, I'm gonna toss this away. That's all gonna get into the yard waste. And you may miss a couple of spots around here. You can just hold that and just take your knife and clean that up, because the white part's gonna be a little more bitter, like so. And so now that we have that, a nice peeled watermelon, go ahead and cut that straight in half, like so. Set one side aside. Then I'm gonna take my knife. Now be careful when you do this. It's watermelon, so you don't have to apply a lot of pressure. Hold my hand on top, and I'm gonna cut this straight in half, like so. Rotate it. And now I'm gonna go and make about 1 inch slices all the way through. Take your time, like so. Now rotate it and follow that 1 inch pattern again. So to reiterate, we went all the way through sideways, halfway, horizontally, rotated it, sliced through 1 inch like that, rotate it again. Now we go through, and now you will end up with perfect little watermelon cubes. And for this recipe, we're looking for about 4 cups or so of watermelon. You can go more, you can go less depending on, but just utilize this as a base for your recipe. And that's the one thing that we always like to impress upon people, is that don't let cooking intimidate you. What you have is what you have, and make it work for you. Like if you don't have one ingredient out of this recipe, totally fine to just not utilize that one and skip it. In this recipe, we're also going to use jalapeno. If you don't like it spicy, you don't have to make it spicy. This is totally going to work. So now we have our nicely cubed watermelon here.
Matt, can I interrupt for a second?
Yes.
So there's a question about, how do you select a watermelon that you know is going to be sweet and flavorful, and where do you go?
Well, of course, I like to try and support farmers markets when you find them, but you can also find them at the local groceries. There's so many, what do we call them? Wives' tales, nuances. You see people in the grocery stores smelling, scratching, knocking is probably the main one. And I think the knocking is the one that I have gone to. But the only thing with knocking is, like, I can't tell you the tone that you're looking for. It's not like you go and knock and find the one that's like a perfect, B sharp or something like that. But I think you find the one that just kind of resonates, right? Like that the water carries that knock all the way through. Definitely do not get one. When I was picking these, there was a few that were a little soft. I would probably stay away from that. I always find that those are a little more sour, but you want one that's firm. You want to be able to knock it. And then some people say, look for the sun spot, because then that one was out in the sun, meaning that yellow spot is not a bad thing. That's actually a good thing. It doesn't need to be green all the way around, because sometimes they say if it was green all the way around, it was kind of in the shade underneath something. So if you see that yellow, that means it was in the sun, which makes it sweeter. The other trick to this, since we're putting this in a salad, if you taste this watermelon now, which I'll do, oh, it's really sweet. I did good. But if for some reason in the salad it's not, you can sweeten this a little bit with either sugar. My preference would be honey, since it's not refined, or you could use something like one of the plant-based, like agave nectar or something like that. So that's kind of watermelon 101. Firm, knock, you want to hear that resonate really nicely. Look for a sunspot. I think those are my 3 little points on choosing watermelon. So
Thank you.
yes, no problem. Back to the jalapeno here. I like this. It plays nice with the watermelon. I go through and just take the stem off right here, like so. You end up with this. Then I'll slice long ways through the jalapeno. So then you end up with this, okay? If you like a little spice, but are afraid of the jalapeno, you can then take a spoon and scoop this out, right? Just take your time because you don't want to splash jalapeno juice in your eye. Don't believe me, ask me. It's not fun. So this would be your mild version of a jalapeno. This would be your spicier version of a jalapeno with the seeds still in it. Choose your poison and you can go from there. If you don't like any spice, if black pepper offends you, just leave it out. You don't need to put that in there. But now I'm going to go through and thinly slice the jalapeno straight down. And Joe, if there's any questions while I'm slicing or doing, please feel free to lob those up.
I don't see any now, but what's your dog's name?
The studio dog, his name, of course, is Boudreaux, which is kind of like a Creole term for Bubba or a Cajun term for Bubba. You always hear the jokes like, you know, so-and-so walked into a bar. Well, down in New Orleans, it's, you know, Boudreaux and his friend Thibodeau walked into a bar. And that's kind of the joke. So he lives up to his silly name of Boudreaux. He is definitely 75% clown, 25% Irish Water Spaniel. He just heard me say his name, so he's going to come for another drive-by and probably bring you a toy. So right now you see we have the jalapeno in there on top of the watermelon, nicely cubed. Now, lime juice. This is key. Watermelon and lime were made to go together like salt and pepper. I love it. Even if you are just eating watermelon fresh, a little squeeze of lime, oh, so much better. Take your limes, 2 limes, roll them out on your board, and just cut them straight in half. And we're going to take the juice of both of these. The juicier, the better. Oh, I'm salivating already. So lime juice there. Second lime here. Like so. My right hand's definitely stronger than my left hand today for some reason. All right, so we got to that. Give it a little toss. If you don't feel comfortable tossing, use a spoon and stir. Made a little splash there. Chefs are people too. Like so. All right. Red onion. So you got the stem, root. We only need about a quarter of this for the amount, but this is just a little addition. So took the stem end off, root end is still attached. Cut side down, so now this onion does not wobble. Cut right in half. So many times I see people doing scratch and sniff, right? Like now that this onion is cut, I can see all the layers. I can find that outer layer very easily and just peel that off. I see too many people, and I say too many because it's like, oh, you see people, it's like, there's a more efficient way to do it. If you have a whole onion, do not try and peel that without cutting it in half. Because you sit there and I call this the scratch and sniff, where you see people scratching that outside, trying to break the paper and pull it. Not necessary. Go ahead and take that stem side off, cut it directly in half, and then you can find that outer layer of paper, and then you end up with this nice clean onion. So for this one, I'm going to use quarter of this onion. So I'll cut it in half again, set this aside like so. And then all I want to do is thinly slice and get little rings of onion. The thinner, the better, because onion plays nice with the watermelon, but if you put too much, it can overpower the watermelon. like
There's a
that.
question about whether or not you soak the red onions prior to putting it in the salad.
I will show you. Yes, you can salt and soak the red onions, but what I like to do is put them in a little bowl. And you can, when you do this salad again, you can start with the red onion. I take a little bit more lime juice, or we can actually use just a little red wine vinegar and just sprinkle that over the top. And that was probably a teaspoon of red wine vinegar, a pinch of salt, and then give this just a little bit of stir. But I like the question about, do you soak the onion? Yes, you can soak them, but if you soak them, what I would also do is sprinkle them with a little salt and, you know, let them soak for at least 20 minutes or so if you do it that way. Once that's done, give them a quick rinse. They will lose some of that astringency, I guess you call it, some of that sulfur taste, that burn that you get from there, and it mellows it out. The other thing that it will do is it also seasons that onion a little bit. That little bit of salt will stay there, but it won't overpower it. So with that little bit of red wine vinegar, it was like a teaspoon for what we sliced here, you can see the whole onion has a slight color change. So it's starting that whole process. It's basically a quick pickle is what we're doing on here, but a quick fresh pickle. So we will just set this aside and add that to our watermelon salad at the end. So far we have the cubed watermelon, we have the sliced jalapeno right in there, and you can see it's already releasing a lot of moisture in there. We squeeze the juice of 2 limes in here, like so. You got the red onion, jalapeno. All right, let's talk about herbs. One of the herbs that I love to put into here is just a little bit of dill. But when you use dill, mint likes to play really nicely with dill in a summer salad. Again, dill can overpower, so you just want enough in there that it's like, oh, what is that? That is really nice. Versus, oh my gosh, I'm eating a kosher pickle or something like that. That's not what we're going for. We want just that nice pop of freshness. So I would say probably for this size salad, about 2 stems worth of dill. We'll match that with 2 stems worth of mint right here. Mint's also another one that works well when it's, you know, a best supporting actor and not center stage, because it can, too much mint is not a good thing, but just the right amount. It needs to be a supporting actor or actress on that. So we got mint, dill, and I always like to bump it up with just a little bit of parsley right here. And this is going to be our herb accompaniment to our salad. So if you notice what I did there, I had all my mint there. I kind of gathered, and I'm slowly kind of rolling everything together. And as I do that, I will fold it in, and I'm just going to run my knife through like so. So that was dill, mint, and a little bit of fresh leaf parsley, or flat leaf parsley, not fresh leaf. Oh, it smells so good. I wish you guys were cooking along. Hey, go ahead.
Yeah, I wish we could smell too. Do you use the lime zest?
You can use the lime zest. That's a whole another addition to this. But yes, if you wanted to zest your lime first, great. It adds that nice citrus oil to the mix on that. For this one, I just, because we have all of the herbs and everything else going in there, and we have a lot of lime juice, and we did a touch of red wine vinegar here, I didn't go with the zest, just not to overpower that limeness. But yes, you can totally use the lime zest. So, all right, so now we have our herbs here, which was the dill, mint, and flat leaf parsley. We're just gonna add that to our watermelon. We're gonna add the rest there, give it a quick stir with our spoon, like so. Now we will add our red onion to that and all the vinegar that goes with it. Stir that in there. And to complete this salad, we're going to use a little bit of feta cheese. Put that down. And I would say for this, it's probably about a half a cup of feta cheese that we're going to use. And as you see, I'm eyeballing because feta cheese and finishing, like seasoning, salt and pepper, that's always to taste. If you're a cheese lover, go for it. If you want to put more feta than I did, knock your socks off. Like, this is your salad. I'm just giving you a couple of little pointers to direct you in the right place. And there you have it. Like, this is a fresh watermelon salad. I'll see if I can get you a close up on here. Just like that. And you can see how beautiful that is. Great fresh picnic, a little spin, a little bit more savory than what you want. When you taste this, I like to utilize the salt that's in the feta cheese for flavoring. Remember, we salted the onions too. And you have a lot of lime juice. So that acid also hits the same receptors as salt. So I'll always go back and I will get a bite that has a little bit of feta, a little bit of watermelon, basically a little bit of everything. And then you test it. So good.
Well,
that wasn't a TV bite. So Joe, if you have a question,
yeah,
I need some time to chew.
I was just gonna say. So we do have a couple questions. If folks don't like feta, is there another cheese that you can use? Is one question.
You can use any cheese that you want. Like, the reason I'm using feta, one, I like the brininess of it, right? So you could use mozzarella with this. If you use mozzarella, then you're going to season a little bit more with salt, right? So just get that balance that's pleasing to your taste buds. But feta I like because it's firm, and it has a nice brininess to it. That's all I'm going for with that. But it's interchangeable. If you don't like feta, please don't use it. It's like when people come up to the truck and they're like, "Hey, what's your favorite po' boy?" And I said, "Well, classically it's shrimp, but I'm a huge oyster fan. Like, that is my ultimate sandwich." And they're like, "Okay, well, maybe I'll try it." I was like, "Well, do you like oysters?" And they're like, "No." I was like, "Well, don't get it. Like, just because I like it doesn't mean you have to like it, right? And especially not when it comes to oysters." So it's the same thing with cheese. If you don't like feta, find a cheese you like, right? Like, any cheese is going to work. You could even shave Parmesan into this if you really wanted to. It will still be great. So it's just, the feta is a suggestion, but you can take it down the path that you want to. Just keep in mind, compensate for any differences in the salt content, because that's what really balances this dish out.
Great. Just a couple more questions. Would this salad be good with a grilled flank steak with chimichurri sauce? That sounds good.
Oh, yeah.
Or would the herbs compete too much with each other?
No, this would not compete. Like, I wish you could taste this salad because the herbs are just right there. That mint, that dill is just a barely whisper. It's like, "Hey guys, I'm here," but that's about it, right? It's not the class clown. It doesn't, run to the front of the stage. And then the mint is that nice, fresh brightness, right? It plays really nice with the dill. The parsley, I think the parsley is always the unsung hero. Like, it's such a great herb. I always recommend the flat leaf. They do taste similarly. The reason I don't like the curly is because those leaves are so curly that I can never get the sand out. And I am just so, like, as soon as I bite into a grit of sand, I'm done. So that's the reason flat leaf is my person. So that's why I go to that. But this works well with that steak. Actually, it's calling out for the steak. I might have to cook a steak tonight. So this might be one of my meat as a treat days. But
Nice.
Yes, this would work great.
Okay, so this is a good relevant question. How long will this store before serving? Especially if you're going to go on a picnic on a hot day, like it might be tomorrow. What would you do?
Yes. So what I would do, you can do the onions and get those on the vinegar with the salt the day before. Keep your cheese separate because then that feta gets a little weird as it gets in that moisture. Same thing with I would do the cucumber and the jalapeno and keep that separate in a container. You can still put the lime juice on it, but it's going to leach out a lot of liquid. So what I would do is don't throw the liquid away, but before you mix that salad, pour the liquid off into another container. Make sure that all ingredients are somewhat, liquid-less. I'm not going to say dry because watermelon should never be dry. Mix your salad, taste it, and then you can add some liquid back, or you can just drink liquid as a power shot.
All right. Fantastic. A couple more cheese related questions.
Yeah.
How much feta did you put in there? And also, what would you replace that's non-dairy?
Oh, non-dairy replacements. Oh, I like that question. I put about a half a cup in this salad. It was roughly 4 cups. And also, Joe, I will send you this recipe and you can put it out there for people if that's a possibility. Or they can contact us through social media or hit me up at matthew@whereyouatmatt.com and I can send you the recipe as well. But that was about a half a cup of feta cheese.
Perfect, because I already promised folks the recipe, so we'll get that to them.
Awesome.
I think that was all of the questions. And just a time check, we're at 12:30.
Okay, perfect. Well, that's salad number one. A couple of additions to that. Let's say you did the mozzarella cheese. One thing you can do, and I'm just looking at it now because this is going to go into our next salad, is you can also offset some of that natural brininess with olives. And these are Kalamata olives. That actually plays really nicely with the sweet tanginess of this salad. So that one's that. The second dish that I'm going to do for you guys that I love to bring to summer events, especially as we get more and more corn out there, is a fresh corn slaw. Now, like we did before with the red onion, we're going to utilize lime juice and vinegar in there to kind of brighten this up. Part of the slaw is going to have the red cabbage in there. So what I'm going to do, I'm only going to use a quarter of this. So I'm going to put this down. I'm going to put my knife through there. We're going to go halfway, like so. And the reason I'm starting with this is we're going to also use the acid to kind of do a quick pickle on this. So I want to give that a second to do its thing. The easiest way to cut, so now we have a quarter of a red cabbage. Go ahead and take the core out of it. Be careful with your knife. Put it on its side. That core straight out. Now you'll see all the layers that you have in there. What I like to do is find the outer layer that's still flat, separate that. Way easier to deal with that than this whole thing here, and then keep this one the way it is. So then I push this down, keep it flat, and then just as thin as you can, take your knife and make little slices. As you get to the end, square it up again, right? Like now this is the same width. So I just did a quick little rotation on my board and follow through nice and even. You may get to the end and rotate again, whatever it takes on that. All right, so now we have the red cabbage. This guy, same thing. Just come through. Once I get it square, and this is what I mean by square. It's no longer like a triangle. I turn it and come straight over. Any questions while I'm slicing, Joe?
I don't see any questions, but are there any stories you want to share from back home or Juneteenth?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's amazing how far we've come in this, feels like this short time, right? Like, I think the whole national awakening for people outside of people of color was the whole George Floyd incident, right? And so to see how far we've come, and now that we're actually getting, Juneteenth as a national holiday, that's just so encouraging. We still have a long way to go, but we're getting there, right? Like, I think I was listening to a panel yesterday on this, and somebody made an analogy that really stuck home with me. Is people are like, yeah, but I'm from the South, so you hear a lot of interesting arguments. But people are like, yeah, but there is no racism. That's wrong. And it's like, but you have all the rights, and it's like, well, there's still a long way to go, and you got to look at it like this. It's like racism's kind of like a diet. Like during COVID, I know I gained, some extra pounds, right? And it was pretty easy because we eat whatever's in the house. We eat for emotional support sometimes, but try taking those pounds away. It takes way more time to get rid of that poundage, right? And that's kind of the way to look at racism. Yeah, I may know that, yes, I need to lose weight, but just saying that doesn't do it, right? Like I have to put the effort in, I have to put the work in to lose this weight. And part of that weight that we're all living with is racism. And I think the more that we bring people to awareness of it, the more it becomes front and center. And so many times we're just not aware that it is. And I saw it in my son's class with how teachers were dealing with the George Floyd incident last year. And it wasn't until I actually sat down with them, or actually not sat down, but a Zoom call, kind of like we're doing here. And I was like, hey, why didn't you guys address this? You know, why did you shut down a kid in class that asked about police violence as being disruptive, right? And luckily for homeschooling, I was able to hear that. And I asked my son, he's 13, and I was like, hey, why did she shut that kid down? He said, you know, because he was being disrupted. I would say, well, why is asking about a current event as big as the George Floyd incident, you know, the murder of George Floyd, an issue? And, you know, I said, you know, hit her up in the chat. And he very respectfully did so. And then she got on him, and I was like, okay, don't worry, buddy, I got this. And so requested a meeting with him. And I was like, hey, do you realize that, you know, this is something beyond politics? Like, this is something that should be addressed in any school, whether public or private. And, you know, she's like, well, I have to wait for, you know, permission. I said, permission from who? You know, she's like, well, you know, we have to wait for guideline from the school board. And I said, well, actually, why are you doing that? Like, if you see something like racism happening and you have these young minds that want to discuss this, what is wrong with a discussion monitored by somebody that they respect in the community, like your teacher? And you know, and she kind of started getting it. And I said, do you realize, and you don't even put it in perspective, I said, do you realize that by doing that, I'm not saying you're racist, but you're contributing to systemic racism, like racism that's baked into a system that you don't even realize you're doing it anymore. And as soon as I said that, it was silent. And then the tears came, and I was like, hey, listen, I'm not saying that, but do you realize that that's what it is? It's like, it's just hidden. And until somebody brings it to the surface, do you actually see it? You know, and it's like, be aware, like so many things out there are like that. And I can't tell you, you know, it changed me too. And it's like, I try to be aware of things that I may not, you know, I might have a blind spot to, but I always want to feel like I'm open to it. So it's okay if there's parts of your past, right? Like, but make it right now. And that's my Juneteenth soapbox for now. Is that the direction we wanted to go in, Joe?
No, thank you. You know, actually, in reading about the federal holiday, they were talking about the murder of George Floyd being a catalyst for change and getting the holiday recognized. And this is just, you know, a great opportunity to begin those dialogues. So thank you. There's love in the chat about your analogy and your approach. So thank you.
Great.
Switching gears just a little bit. We have a question from a 7-year-old.
Okay, I love that.
Who wants to know how did you start your business? I want to open up my food truck stand or my food stand. Yes.
Oh man, yeah, we can chat for days. Little, is it a guy or a lady? I'm not sure. Margaret. All right, perfect. But yeah, it was. I'd been cooking around in different restaurants for a long time, and it just felt like it was the right time. There was a lot going on in my life that made me not want to keep working for somebody else and start my own thing. And I saw a niche for the style of food that I grew up with and loved, you know, the Creole style, and started talking to my dad and my grandfather at the time. And they were like, hey man, we believe in you, we support you, you know, and it's more attainable than a brick and mortar from my financial perspective. So I started recipe testing. I dialed what I wanted my menu to look like, researched, you know, logos, you know, business plan, everything else. Got the okay from dad, Gramps. They're like, let's do this, right? And, you know, remotely, they were so supportive, as was my whole family. And we just went for it. And, you know, but I think for someone starting out, especially a 7-year-old, it's like, you know, you can start off with simple plans, like whatever you want to do. It's like, get organized in your mind first. The other 2 cents in that is don't get paralyzed by over analyzing either. Like, organize as much as you can, but at a certain point, you're going to have to look at yourself as a fledgling bird and take that jump, right? Like, I prepare it as much as I can without knowing the factors, and you'll never know those other variables that I just said factors until you start, right? But make sure you keep an open mind. Things will come up that you didn't plan for, but you know what? That's the fun part of business. I love a challenge, and every day that something happens, I don't get mad. It's like, well, how do we fix it, right? Like, I understand that happened, but how do we fix it? Where do we go from here, guys? You know, and it's always a team effort. And being surrounded by a great team like I have with me, you know, I feel like the sky's the limit. But that's the key. Plan. Don't overanalyze to paralysis. Be willing to take that leap. Know that issues are going to come up, and just be open to fixing them. And every day's new, and it's a lot of fun.
Thank you for sharing that. Any plans to open a brick and mortar?
Well, we sold our restaurant Rue in 2018, which was, in hindsight, you know, a very brilliant idea that we had on the heels of COVID. I don't know, like, I feel like there's other way. I feel like our industry, as you know, the whole person of color movement within our nation is, you know, at a change, right? It's at a catalyst of growth, of change, which is great. I feel like our industry is too, as far as the restaurant industry. I think there's a lot of different ways to feed the masses, feed the community. I'm not sure if that's going to be a brick and mortar for me again. So that's a TBD answer coming up. So as we're taking questions, I just want to do one quick thing. I had this cabbage sliced, and I'm going to add about a 1/4 cup of vinegar to this. And I just want to start that pickle process that we talked about before. All right, Joe, you can keep with questions. A pinch of salt. I'm going to
actually, there's no questions at the moment.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to just give this a quick stir. This salad comes together really quickly too. This one would work well with the steak. It would work well with chicken. It would work well with pork. Works well on its own. It's very versatile. So we have our cabbage. I'm going to go ahead and take the other 1/4 of our red onion here. Same thing. Slice that down just like we did before. And you can do whatever slice you want. I like these little 1/4 moons. Just keep them nice and thin. And this is going to go in with the cabbage because I don't like that onion burn. So I'm going to add it to the vinegar and the salt, like so. And stir that in. You can see the foundation is starting. The cabbage, which I love, especially once it gets that vinegar, it changes its beautiful magenta color, and any shape of acid is added to it. So that could be lime juice, red wine vinegar, any kind of vinegar.
How much red wine vinegar?
That was about a 1/4 cup. That was a 1/4 of a red cabbage, 1/4 head, about a 1/4 cup of vinegar, and roughly a 1/4 of a red onion. I would say probably a 1/2 cup of red onion, because onions change size depending on the time of year. So I'd say probably a 1/2 cup. That was probably at least a full packed cup of the red cabbage, if you want an actual measurement on that. And then we have our corn. If you've never shucked corn, not hard at all. You have the top here where the silk threads come out. And if you didn't know, on corn, these silk threads, each one of these threads actually attaches to a kernel in the corn. Don't ask me how I know that. I may be a food geek and love food science, but that's what they're there for.
You just blew my mind with that.
Yeah, all right. Just grab it and just pull straight down and reveal this beautiful corn here. This is the white corn. It's coming into season here. You're going to start seeing some Yakima. Once you have this, the easiest way to get the silk off is a dry towel, and just use the towel. Rotate the corn and wipe it down with the towel, and then clean your board. Silk's not going to kill you. It's just the texture that I don't really desire. All right, so now you end up with the corn. You can do this with 2 heads or 1 head. That in there. Safest way to take the corn kernels off is I like to hold this on a board and just run my knife straight down, rotate, run the knife straight down, just like so. And then you end up with that. If you make stocks at home or anything like that, this makes a great stock. Just put that in some cold water, bring it up to a boil, simmer for about 45 minutes to an hour. You can put any kind of like the onion scrap, like if I have any onion pieces, I'll throw in there. It makes a nice, quick stock. I'm just going to slide this into my bowl. I'm going to do that with the second ear. How are we doing on time, Jill?
We are at 12:45.
All right, perfect. So I'll do the second ear really quick, a little bit faster. Just grab it, peel it down. Wipe it down like so. Clean my board. All right. Take all of those kernels off. If you notice, I just built it right on top of that cabbage. I didn't mix it in yet. Let me get those rest of them in there.
While you're doing that, folks are admiring your corn. And there's a question about, did you get that corn from a farmer's market?
I got this from one of my local grocery stores.
Okay.
I didn't go to the farmer's market today, although you're starting to see it in farmer's markets.
Along
Now
that
we
same,
have, go ahead.
Oh, along that same line, what's your preferred local farmer's market?
Oh, whichever one's open that day. Like I always pull up the the farmer's market kind of location guide, depending on which ones we go to. I love the Ballard market. It's probably one of the bigger, more consistent markets, and it's usually year round. But that's on, I believe, Saturday or Sunday. I always get it confused, but the university market is great. My local market is the Wallingford market, which I love to visit that one. But I go the circuit. Like if I'm in a new neighborhood and I see on there's a calendar you can Google that shows you where the farmers markets are, and pretty much every day you can find one. But if I'm in a new area, I love to stop by farmers markets. I don't really have a favorite one as much as I just love farmers markets.
Someone just helped us out. Ballard is on Sunday, University is on Saturday.
Yep.
There was another question about what you would use, the stock. What do you use your stock for?
Oh, so many things. Like I'll use the stock to make soups with. I make sauces with. Like I've gotten into a lot of the plant-based kind of cream sauce, which you use cashew nuts, but instead of water when I use it, when I make it, I will use like that stock. And once you make the stock, I usually just put it in some of the quart containers that you get from to-go restaurants or anything like that. Put it in the fridge, label and date it, and usually get about a week out of it. But substitute for anything like for water. Like if you're making rice, you can use the stock. If you're making like a grain or quinoa or something like that, use the stock instead of water. So just use it in place of water. Just adds another layer of flavor and you're good to go. All right. So now we have the corn in the bowl. So now I'm going to use about a half cup of Kalamata olives. You can use your favorite olive. It doesn't have to be Kalamata. I always buy them pitted. I hate pitting olives. And just run your knife through it. You can use these whole if you want. But just run the knife through really quick. And these go straight into the bowl. All right. And then the piece that I love is pickled peppers. You can pickle your own. It's pretty simple, or you can buy them pre-pickled. These are just like little Fresnos, like so. And again, on these, this will be about a half a cup. You can save the brine for the end, and I'll show you why. As we taste it, if we think it needs a little more acid, I'm just running my knife through that just to break down the bigger ones right on top. And now we're to our herbs. I love herbs. They add such a depth of flavor. People are intimidated sometimes by herbs, but they're super simple. I think corn always calls for cilantro. If you're not a cilantro fan, utilize basil, right? Like you don't have to use something you don't like. But if you like it, oh, I love it. So we're gonna go cilantro. This time we're going basil. Something like that. Probably about 6 to 8 leaves of basil. I'm gonna go a little bit more. And then I like to kick it off. And you'll see I do this a lot with a little bit of mint because it gives you that little, oh, what is that brightness, right? Like not a lot, but just a little bit. This is also the secret. Mint is also the secret to my marinara sauce and tomato. Just a little bit of mint in there with the basil brings it right there. So far we have cilantro, basil, mint. Again, I'm going to roll this up like that, like a little pocket, and then just run your knife through there. Take your time. Fingertips are good. All right. Clean that up. Those herbs smell so good. Right on there.
Can you take a question?
Yeah, go for it.
What do you like to eat with the salads for protein? I'm particularly interested in meat-free options in addition to cheese.
Meat-free. This would be great with like a grilled tofu, like a charred grilled tofu. And if depending on how much you've been doing tofu, it's always great when you get the tofu out of the liquid to take, put it in between either 2 plates or 2 sheet trays or something like that and weight it down, right? Like when I say weight it down, I'm talking like 2, big coffee table book styles. Put it on there, weight it down for at least 20 minutes and get as much of that liquid out of that as possible. Then at that point, you can oil it down and grill it in like super high heat, but make sure it's oiled down, grill it, season it, salt, pepper, then cut it into cubes. That would be a great protein to go with this. And if the other one that this works really well with, and what I always like to substitute in my diet would be a seafood. Right now we're in salmon season. This is beautiful with salmon. But then I would say probably the tofu side or the salmon side of things would be the two. This also, this is going to work with chicken, steak, you name it. But those are the two that come to mind first. So now that we have the salad, we're just going to mix all of this together. You can see that beautiful magenta color on that cabbage. You can see the onions are playing nice with it. Those peppers, the olives. And when you stir, always get to the bottom and get those guys that have been hanging out in the marinade up to the top. Let everybody get into that pool, so to speak. Any other questions on that, Joe?
Not at the moment. And we're awesome. At 12:53.
Look at that, 12:53. And you have your nice salad right there. Look how beautiful that color and texture is. I'm going to utilize my spoon and take a little bite. That is so good. And if you notice, I did not add more salt to this. There was salt in the initial cabbage and red onion, but just a little pinch. The Kalamata olives add that nice burst of brininess to it that then quickly is cooled by the cabbage, the corn, and then the herbs take over. The pickled peppers are really nice. They add just another different kind of sweetness than corn sweetness. And I just like that. Like there is a party in my mouth right now. And that's what it's all about. Like these two, super fresh, super simple, super clean, super healthy. Can we say super again? Probably. But yeah, try it out. If you don't have one of these ingredients, substitute something else, right? Like if you need crispy crunch from the cabbage and you don't have cabbage, you could use lettuce if you want. you could use a fresh squash in place of this cabbage, like a zucchini, a squash. I just did a big dinner Wednesday night where I used the chayote squash, or melitome, better known as. And it was so good. I wouldn't cook them at all. I would just slice them down, get a nice, whether it's the half moons, whatever's easiest knife work, about a eighth of an inch thick, throw them in there fresh, season it up, and that's going to work just the same.
There's a similar question to the previous salad. How would you store this? And would the cabbage color the corn, or is that an issue?
Never an issue, because it's not going to affect the flavor. There could be some color sharing, is what I always like to call it, in the bowl, but it's an aesthetic thing. It's not a it's not a danger thing at all. Easiest way to store this is in an airtight container. This would probably last. I mean, that cabbage, because it's not cooked, it's only getting kind of that brined or maceration by the acid. Like, you can easily get probably 3 to 5 days out of this.
Awesome. So we're getting a lot of people feeling pretty jealous right now and hungry. And folks
everybody but me.
I know. Thanks a lot. There's folks that want to come see you. Can you tell us how we can find you?
Yes. You can find easiest way to find us. So our company is called Where You At, Matt, mobile restaurant, better known as a food truck. On there, though, we do more New Orleans street food style. Like, this is kind of like the one-offs that we do for catering, special events, and everything else. We also have a company called Chef Box Live, where we teach a lot of cooking classes. My buddy Sam from Sound Excursions and I created that for our COVID pivot or project, however you want to call it. And so that's where we do more of this style of cooking. But yeah, come see us at the truck. Some New Orleans street food, which is, the po' boys, the jambalayas, the gumbo, the beignets, the pies. We run specials there, but it's all super delicious.
That is awesome. I remember coming out to your truck for a crawfish boil. And
Ooh,
that was a while ago.
I was gonna say, that's one of my favorite things, though. Like, I can't wait to get out of COVID and do a big boil. Like, so many things. Like, that's one of the things that is summertime to me. Like, that's a summer picnic for us too. Like, if I wish crawfish was more accessible up here, because that's what we used to do down in New Orleans. Is easily big, 100 pounds of crawfish, all of your friends and family, local park, newspaper on the table, boil it, dump it, and everybody just goes to town.
Thank you. And our director, Dominica, just put the link for your Facebook page. Thank you, Dominica.
Awesome.
Now I'm just gonna thank you, Chef Matt Lewis. This has been fabulous. And I do have one more question for you, but that's a teaser, because I want to tell everybody about our event tomorrow.
All right.
I'll have to wait to hear your answer to the last question. So
I'm nervous, y'all.
Oh, no, it's nothing to be nervous about. Getting a lot of thank yous and accolades in the chat, but I just want to let everybody know that tomorrow, so we've been celebrating Juneteenth all week. We've had some wonderful presenters, including Alice Beasley's fabric art, stories of migration program, introduction to African American genealogy, family story time with Courtney Clark, featuring the book Cornrow. So we've had some really great programs this week, including this one today. Tomorrow is our Juneteenth celebration, Journeys of Remembrance. And so 10 a.m. tomorrow, there's still room. You can go to our site and register. We'll be sure to put the link there. But so I don't know a better way to spend a Saturday morning getting ready for your day than listening to the sounds of Black Stacks, a local hip hop group with MC Jason, Felicia Loud, inspiration from poets Abigail Ferrigno and Kiana Davis, pianist Joe Williams will have some nice music that he composed specifically for the celebration. And of course, our guest curator and celebration host is Courtney Clark, who will tell us the story of Juneteenth from slavery to emancipation and beyond. So we will put that link in the chat, and you please, please, please join us. It'll be easy. You can dance, you can stay in bed, whatever you want to do. You can prep your salads. And so, Matt, I want to be sure we get those recipes. Folks
Okay.
will want those from me. Courtney just
Absolutely.
let folks know that there's also a hashtag Juneteenth Journeys. Try this out. Share your pictures online with us. And so the last
I love
question,
pictures. Yeah.
yes, share your pictures. And so the last question for you is, someone gave us some appreciation for hosting this as a library event and wanted to know if you had a library story. And I'm going to throw this out there. Are you going to come out with a book?
Maybe eventually one day. Like it'll be interesting to see what direction the book goes, because like I love to watch the evolution of where my cooking has gone, you know, from like cooking with grandma and mom to, you know, working in restaurants, to going to culinary school, to going back to restaurants, to then kind of, as I get older, changing the style that I eat personally, not necessarily the style on the truck. But you know, this is what I eat a lot more of these days, and I feel, you know, better for it. But you know, it would be a fun book. Like it would be a fun journey to for me personally go on, and I think people would enjoy it. So maybe stay tuned on that one. Stay tuned on that one. But I think, you know, my favorite library stories would just be going to like the cookbook sections and looking for the old books that are not necessarily found in bookstores anymore, or maybe have been forgotten, and like trying to renew those recipes. I mean, that's one of my favorite things. I love, one of my favorite books out of all the ones that I have, you know, on my shelves and on coffee tables that have the huge glossy photos that just make you salivate. But all of the original Joy of Cooking. Like I like ones that are pre 1980s, like the 70s and on back, because those, like, I'm like fascinated by what was supposedly the home cooks cookbook, right? Like you see those and you're like, oh my gosh, like this was an intense meal, you know, especially if it was on a weeknight. But taking those ideas and letting those inspire like the future, like where we are now, and recreating those in a different kind of context, but with the same vein of inspiration is a lot of fun for me.
Well, thank you so much. This has been a very fun, informative, and delicious looking presentation.
Well, thank you.
We'll love to have you back sometime. We'll reconnect and get those recipes.
Let's do it.
Yes. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Happy Juneteenth.
Happy Juneteenth.
Yes, please join us tomorrow. There's a lot of things happening. So check out what's going on in your neighborhood. So see you all later. We are going to sign out.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you soon. Don't forget, where you at, Matt?